Okay, so if you struggle to articulate your big idea, your core message, your unique point of view, by the end of this video, I'm hoping that you'll have a couple of tools, a couple of tricks, a couple of ideas with regards to really choosing the right words and phrases and articulating your big idea in the most meaningful and the most impactful way. My name is Pranav, and I help soloists build authority through content. But unlike others, my focus is really not on making my clients go viral, because virality does not really lead to anything significant. What I do instead is I help them develop a perspective, develop a big idea, a unique point of view, so that everything downstream becomes a lot easier and our content resonates a lot more. So let's jump into it. So when I work with my clients to develop their big idea, one of the hurdles that we keep running into is, okay, like, I sort of know what we are going towards. You have helped me, Pranav, you have helped me identify what my unique perspective is, but I'm not quite sure how to talk about it. I'm not sure the phrases I should use. How do we solve this problem? And that's why this particular video. But first, just because everyone's at different stages, just want to realign us or reorient us with regards to what a big idea actually is. A big idea is a unique perspective that challenges the status quo in our industry and promises to transform our audience's life for the better. It captures our unique approach to solve the audience's problem. And because it's you and you have a unique perspective, your brand is naturally differentiated. So it's an easy way to really stand out and be differentiated. A few examples of big ideas. Start with Why by Simon Sinek. So this list, by the way, consists of different thought leaders, experts. They may not necessarily be in the same category. They're also like, some of them are just starting out. Some of them are my clients. Some of them are like established thought leaders. But these are still very good examples of a big idea. So Start with Why by Simon Sinek, Radical Candor by Kim Scott, Hourly Billing is Nuts by Jonathan Stark, Sequence over Strategy by Michelle Warner, Perspective over Expertise by me, Calm is the New KPI by Susan Bowles, ROI of DI from my client and friend Vikram Shetty. Again, a client example is you don't need more discipline, you need more alignment. And Atomic Habits by James Clear, unfortunately not a client yet. As we start wrestling with, how do I actually describe my big idea? One thing to note is that there is not a formula, because if there was a how to guide or a step by step process, we wouldn't really go anywhere, because everyone would use this formula. They would use this process. So it's extremely iterative. It's extremely it's driven by feedback. There's a lot of trial and error involved. But that being said, there are a few templates that can get us started, that can give us inspiration. So when we look at a few other big ideas, we will get some inspiration to craft ours. So we can get some guidance with regards to the words that we can choose and the way we can describe it, which is what I'm hoping to deliver through this video. Like I said, it's an iterative process, so it needs a ton of feedback before you can arrive at a particular or a specific set of words that really land. Okay, so how do we frame ours? Now I'm going to run you through a few templates and give examples for each of them, and hopefully something sticks. The first easiest way to start is stop dash start dash. Stop blank, start blank. Because a big idea inherently is challenging the status quo. There is something that is being done in the status quo, which we as experts want our audience to stop doing, because they have been doing this, which has been harming them, and we want them to stop doing that. Every big idea follows this particular template. Each and every one of them. Of course, they may not use those specific words like stop and start. But let's say, for example, when Simon Sinek says that start with why, he's saying that, stop with what. Or when Jonathan Stark says hourly billing is nuts, he's essentially saying that, hey, stop hourly billing. Every big idea can be mapped out to these couple of words. My client Yashi, together we arrived at this particular big idea, which is that you don't need more discipline, you need more alignment. And this happened after a lot of work with regards to, examining her content, doing some content audits, looking at her methodology, understanding what she stands for, and this is what emerged by the end of it. Again, I'm not really using the word stop and start here, but it's almost like, hey, stop depending on discipline and start building more alignment. Template number 2 is blank over blank. Instead of doing this, do that. As simple as that, right? So Michelle Warner's sequence over strategy is a good example of this. Michelle is a business strategist, And her point of view, her big idea is that we obsess over strategy. The sequence with which we do actions is far more important than being obsessed with strategy. So that's her big idea, which is sequence over strategy. So stop this obsession with strategy. Let's focus on sequence first. Moving on to the next one, blank before blank. Okay. Sort of similar to the previous one, but we are not inherently discarding the other thing. We are simply saying that, hey, that other thing that you want to do it, but do it later. First, let's do this. My example, perspective before expertise sort of falls into this category as well. So my big idea, or my point of view of perspective before expertise, falls into this category and makes up a good example for this particular category. Blank is blank. This is quite interesting. So my client, when I and Warren work together, Warren is a founder coach who helps them deal with stress. Again, we did all of those exercises. We collaborated. We went through a methodology together, and what we arrived at was stress is intelligence. So the whole premise is that, hey, this thing called stress that you want to get rid of. Everyone else out there is talking about how to get rid of stress. They're talking about these hacks and morning routines. Whereas I am suggesting you that, hey, that stress is actually intelligence. Use it as a superpower. That's what we arrived at. So blank is blank. Another example is Jonathan Stark's hourly billing is nuts. Simple, right? Hourly billing is nuts, right? Don't depend on hourly billing. That's what he's trying to say. One thing to note here is that we are bringing two words together which don't inherently belong together. So when I say stress is intelligence, hardly anyone has ever said that his stress is intelligence, or hardly anyone would have said hourly billing is nuts, right? So nuts and hourly billing, like that sort of creates intrigue, that creates surprise, which is what is working in this particular template. Blank is the new blank. Susan Bowles' calm is the new KPI is a good example of this. Calm and KPI, again, the same thing. Calm and KPI is not something that we use together. And so it again creates that surprise. Another big idea is from a different domain altogether, and it's way back in the past. But this person, Clive Robert Humby, who unfortunately I don't know, came up with data is the new oil. And data and oil is not really something we put together. So again, this shapes up beautifully. Two contrasting words, like no formula, just two contrasting words. James Clear's Atomic Habits is one example. Also Mark Manson's book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Beep, that also falls into this category. And also Kim Scott's Radical Candor, because radical and candor are two very opposite words. The same goes with atomic and habits, right? It's sort of creating this challenging the status quo, because habits are inherently supposed to be big changes, but James is challenging that by saying atomic habits, which is what is creating this intrigue and surprise. Again, it's about bringing two words, concepts that you wouldn't necessarily use together. Blank without blank, this thing that you're doing, already doing. So X without Y, right? So the X is the thing that you're already doing, but without this one particular thing, right? So Blair ends win without pitching is a great example that, hey, you want to win deals, but yes, do it without pitching. What? You can do that? That's the kind of reaction that is being invoked. Influence without authority, again, the same thing, because influence and authority usually go together. And now I'm actually separating them. You don't need to have authority to build influence, is the point that I'm trying to make. And lastly, you have blank of blank. An excellent example is my client, Vikram Shetty, ROI of DEI. And the reason that this is revolutionary or it grabs attention is ROI and DEI usually never come together. That's becoming like the underlying theme of this call, that you're essentially bringing two ideas together, which is sort of creating that intrigue, and you're packaging it in different ways. Okay, so bringing it all together, I'm going to throw in all the templates now. Stop blank, start blank, blank over blank, blank before blank is the new blank, two contrasting words, blank without blank, and blank of blank. To summarize, it can be challenging to name your big idea. Play with the templates from this video. Use AI, use all of these templates. But please remember that this is iterative and you do need to take feedback from your audience. If you need help with your big idea, please reach out to me on my website, pranavkale.com. Thanks.